rejection by Decca Records, Brian Epstein had been trying to secure a recording contract for the Beatles at other major British labels, only to be turned down by them all, until a recording of the original Decca audition was brought to the attention of George Martin at Parlophone Records.
At that time I was head of Parlophone Records in England, and it was a comparatively small and not very important label, and consequently, although I rejoiced in the title of being the chief man, I was also the chief cook and bottle washer, did all the recording of all sorts. And I was looking for something, I was looking for new artists, and I put the word around amongst the business. And I had a call from Sid Coleman, who was the EMI public music publisher, who worked in HMV's shop in Oxford Street. And the engineer in the shop had heard a tape that was brought in by someone, and brought it to Sid Coleman's notice, and Sid suggested that I should listen to it, and sent the gentleman who produced the tape along to see me. And that was Brian Epstein. So I made an appointment to see Brian, and he brought me a disc of the tape that he had cut in the Oxford Street shop, and played me some of the songs. And he was quite a nice chap, and I listened to the material, which wasn't very interesting, rather scruffy in fact. But there was something about them, about the sound, that I thought was interesting, and I told Brian that I would deign to give the group a test, which was the normal procedure in those days. That meant I would devote a morning or an afternoon in the studios to the particular group in question and listen to them. And inwardly he must have groaned, because he was going through the same process he'd been through many times before. So he brought the Beatles down from Liverpool, and I think it was April or May, I think it was April 1962, that I first heard them in the studio, which was rather a different affair to listening to that initial tape. It was John, George, and Paul, and Pete Best. So the very first time I heard them in the studio, it was like that too. And Pete Best was the one who sat in the drums in the corner, not saying very much. And he was also the most good-looking of the lot, I thought, at the time. He had the kind of sultry James Dean look about him, which was very popular at that time. But nevertheless, he didn't really fit in with the rest of them. He wasn't a particularly good drummer. They were very offbeat and irreverent, and I liked them. I mean, I didn't realise at the time, I knew afterwards, that I had something going for me, because I'd been working on the Peter Sellers and Spike Milligan records, and they were great fans of all those kind of things. So that I was a kind of idol in their eyes before I met them. And they had a very goony kind of humour too, so I was very much attracted to them as people, regardless of what they could do, and I thought we could work together very well.
On June the 6th, the Beatles recorded 4 songs.
I honestly knew as soon as I signed them that I had a potential hit group. My main worry was the material, because I was very, it was obvious to me that they weren't writing hit songs at that stage. And I was looking around desperately for songs to give them. I did that, actually. I found a song which I thought was their #1 hit, made them record it. They didn't want to, but they did. And then they came to me and said, well, look, we like this song, but we'd rather have our own one. Please Please Me was the one that they brought to me as an answer to the song that I'd given them, which was How Do You Do It? And I said, well, we'll have a go at recording it. And we recorded it, #2 studio have a go. And when we finished the recording, I did actually go down in history by saying, you played your first #1 record, I promise you. And they all clapped their hands, clapped each other on the back and said, yippee. Not really believing it, but of course it was. It was the beginning of a long line of #1.
I like